They had a larger force. They did not have transports full of horses in tow, or ships overloaded with land troops, and they had hundreds of years of naval experience to draw on. One of the things they didn't have was the experienced crews they had started the war with, because they had frittered them away at Mylae and Sulci and Tyndaris. It can be dangerous for a commander to attempt tactics which his previously experienced force could perform, but his new recruits are not up to. In the initial disposition, the Romans very cleverly had two columns allied in echelon to form a single wedge. In echelon means one deployed to the side and behind the other. It's a term that only the French evolved around the 17th century. It was used before then, most notably by Alexander the Great. But here we see it used at sea in a way that certainly is not described in other sources. Although at the Battle of Arginusae, the Athenian staggered double line sort of came close, but this is a real evolution. The two columns aligned in echelon formed a single wedge. This allowed their ships to support each other from ramming attack like a cascading series of wingmen, and protected their flanks and rear from ramming attacks. If the Carthaginians came from the front, then the Corvus would come into play, and instead of being overloaded with soldiers, suddenly the Romans had a real advantage in a savage infantry battle at sea. Two other Roman squadrons were protecting the front and rear of the transports. The Carthaginians, thinking with a lot of good reason that they held an advantage and the killing season had arrived, deployed in a fishhook formation. It looks as though they were trying to keep the Romans from finding the safety of the shore. So enthusiastic were they to get into the Roman transports that they left the centre of their line to fight the two Roman lead squadrons, while the Carthaginian wings attacked the front and rear of the transport formation. The centre of the Carthaginian line then withdrew to pull the Roman fighting vanguard further away from the transports. At this point, it looks as if the Carthaginians have overcomplicated their battle. Rather than use their concentrated superior force, and the fact that one of the Roman squadrons is towing horse transports, to destroy part of the enemy fleet, they tried to attack everywhere. In turn, the Roman central squadron, having cut their transports loose, managed to evade the Carthaginian fishhook and deployed facing outwards from the coast, also denying their flanks. This manoeuvre did have the extreme disadvantage of leaving thousands of horses drifting through the middle of the biggest naval battle in history, at sea, but on the plus side, the transport towing squadron was occupying a third of the Carthaginian fleet with relatively few losses, freeing up the other Roman ships to do very unpleasant things to their enemies.